Tell me about the Iran war. Is it going to be a forever war? Is it going to cool off, boil over, simmer, cool off? Are we in this for the long haul now?
Well, one question is whether or not President Trump believes we're in it for the long haul, and I think even President Trump has a hard time answering that question. But judging by the events of, again, just this week, we're seeing that Iran is not interested in backing down, and we are faced between a choice of either escalating ourselves or negotiating a potential settlement. But Iran is signaling that it is not interested in a negotiation. From our perspective, analytically, let me say this over again. From an American perspective, backing down from this war is also dangerous, because think of what that signals to our adversaries if that is the course that we take. Now, having said that, Iran is also the weakest it's been in a very long time. And so it becomes a question of timing as well, and who's committed to the long game.
Is Iran overconfident?
Well, I think Iran doesn't have much of a choice. Iran is recognizing that they don't have a whole lot of other options, and they certainly don't want to lose.
Do you think that tell me what you would do if you were, let's say President Trump calls you, he sees this interview and he calls you in 20 minutes and says, what should I do? What would you tell him?
Well, I would tell him that if we're doing this, we have to be committed, that this is too important to our interests, not just in the region, but also globally, and also raises the question of what tools do we have at our disposal, how are we going to conduct ourselves, whether or not air power alone is going to be enough.
So you would contemplate ground forces?
Well, this is a discussion that took place before. We've backed down from that, but I think it's a discussion that might have to eventually take place. We simply have to reevaluate where we are on the ground.
What do you think?
This war has shown that it is very hard. Well, let me start over. We have not heard a clear articulation from President Trump of what our objectives are in this war. Is it whether or not it's regime change, or is it something else? Is it curbing the Iranian nuclear program? And of course, there's also the question of Iranian ability to project power across the region. So without stating a clear objective, it's hard to answer that question.
Do you think that the United States could affect regime change at a cost that wouldn't be seen as prohibitive by the American public?
I think it's a question of how long of a time commitment we're willing to make. This war is not yet over, and if you look at it from a long-term perspective, Iran has declared, the Iranian government has declared war on the United States. And we've been dealing with this for many decades now. Fundamentally, it's a question of whether or not we want to back down, if we want to negotiate a settlement, or if we want to be committed to it. And it's a question of communication to the American public of what are the objectives, what are the costs, and whether or not that cost is worth the sacrifice.
It sounds like you think this is kind of a crucible for American foreign policy, that the stakes are really high.
I think the stakes are very high because from an American security perspective, whether you look at it from through the lens of the interest of American partners and adversaries, how America conducts this war is incredibly important. The stakes are very high.
Also, for example, for Taiwan.
Sure, and again, this shows you how interlinked all these conflicts truly are, which is why your earlier question, when we were talking about President Zelensky and the connections between Ukraine and Iran, once again highlights that this really is there's a much more bigger global game that's unfolding across the region. And this is not unique to this particular war. Whenever the United States is involved in any confrontation, because the United States is a global leader, the world is always watching. And this is a question about the world order.
Now, it is interesting, just as a final query or comment, that Trump did run on America First, and a lot of people assume that he would be a non-interventionist. In fact, the opposite has occurred. He has been intervening in Latin America and now in the Middle East, in Iran. And you're right that he may not have stated a clear objective. But it is interesting, is it not, that he hasn't skedaddled from the conflict?
Yes.
I mean, he's hung tough so far.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's interesting that given especially short-term attention span that we're used to seeing, thus far, he has not walked away from this conflict, and certainly we're still in the middle of it. We'll have to wait and see how it unfolds.
Well, thank you for this excellent session.
Thanks for having me.